2021 sure was a year. In terms of the actual day-to-day stuff, it was very sadly not that different than 2020. COVID is still around, some personal issues arose throughout, we lost Betty White at the very last possible second, and that's just to name a few of the bad things. But that's not to say 2021 didn't have its good points. And one of those good points was, quite frankly, all the entertainment we got throughout the year. So many awesome things came out in 2021 that it was quite frankly hard for me to come up with a simple top something video, so I decided why not just run through everything which came out this year. Well, everything which came out that I saw and experienced throughout the year, as, like any other human, I did miss on some things. The rule is that I'm going by each category and give my quick thoughts about the movies, shows, books, and video games I was able to watch, read, and play throughout the year by the order of their release. If I got around to it, it counts. And for the video game stuff, no remasters or updated versions, as they technically didn't come out this year. So with that said, let's go over everything I experienced in 2021. Figured I'll start with the category I have the least to say about, because I only read one book which came out this year, and that is Codename Firefly, the sequel to last year's number 10, which is a spin-off of my favorite book series ever, Night School. I really enjoyed the number 10 last year, and Codename Firefly, I'm happy to report, is a very good sequel. I may slightly prefer number 10 as it was more of a standalone, but Codename Firefly ties into the Night School series well enough that it doesn't feel too fanservice-y, and it does continue the story of the new protagonist without feeling like she's been overshadowed by the returning characters. It was a very good time, looking forward to the next one. Tom and Jerry was exactly what I expected it to be, which is very sadly not a good movie. Tom and Jerry themselves are great, the slapstick works, and I like the animation on the animal characters, but all of those are overshadowed by a lame human story which feels way too detached from Tom and Jerry themselves. You're left wondering what was the point of putting them in the movie. I'll stick with the original cartoons, thank you very much. Cherry is a fantastic movie and might even be the best movie of 2021. Brilliantly directed and filmed, intense from start to finish, Tom Holland and the rest of the cast give phenomenal performances, and I was glued to it all the way through despite being a pretty long movie. It may not be for everyone due to it focusing on mature themes and not holding back, but I can't recommend and praise it enough. If you like movies, watch it. Raya and the Last Dragon is one of the worst Disney movies I've ever seen. I really can't believe they reached such a low. I have a full video on why I think this movie sucked so much, but the short version is that I expected more out of Disney than copying elements from much better products and not doing as good a job as those other products. Godzilla vs. Kong was everything I wanted it to be. It gave us the rematch between the two classic monsters, the action sequences were a blast, it concluded the universe it's a part of really well, and it was so nice to see such an action-packed movie when theaters opened again. If you're a Monsters fan and you haven't seen it, you definitely have to. The Mitchells vs. the Machines was a really great time, which is unsurprising considering it came from the people behind Into the Spider-Verse. It's funny, creative, wholesome at points, every scene is pure eye candy, it's just a blast from start to finish. Boot up Netflix and give it a watch if you haven't for some reason. Luca is the perfect combo between Pixar's fantastic animation and gut-wrenching moments and Studio Ghibli's calmer and day-to-day style of storytelling. Likeable characters, creative concept, animation which is outright beautiful, and overall just a great time. What else could one need from a movie?
In the Heights, I flip the lights and start my...
In the Heights may not be the most accurate adaptation of the classic musical, but it has the heart and fantastic music which came from it. Top it with some beautiful cinematography and amazing performances, this is a movie you definitely have to check out if you're living for some awesome beats. Space Jam: A New Legacy is a movie I expected to be awful. And it was even more awful than I thought it was going to be. Unfunny jokes, in-your-face advertisement, a pace which drags, and even the basketball game is boring. I'll stick to the original, thank you very much. Trollhunters: Rise of the Titans was an alright movie. Until it reached the end, which made it one of the worst conclusions to any franchise ever. The characters are as fun as always and the animation is spectacular, but the rehashed plot regarding Jim's character development and the terrible ending are inexcusable and result in a terrible final outing. I'm sad to say it, but this is probably the biggest shame in this video. The Suicide Squad was a blast and a much needed improvement over the previous attempt. It's funny, violent, engaging, and just a really good time. Wasn't too keen on Harley Quinn's part, as I think she was shoved in as fanservice and nothing more, but it was still a great movie, which is a lot more than I can say for the previous one. Vivo is a treasure of a film. There's not much to say about this one other than the fact it's a movie that can be enjoyed by everyone at any given point. Great characters, fun journey, amazing songs by our lord Lin-Manuel Miranda, and a bunch of scenes which will cause even the most cold-hearted person to cry. This is one bit you can't go wrong with. Shang-Chi I felt was a great movie. The action sequences alone were worth it in my opinion, and I feel like the humor and drama were nailed in their own way. It's not the best of the MCU by a long shot, and the main actor can be a joke, but overall, I had a good time with it. I will recommend. Gunpowder Milkshake was such an awesome surprise. I went into it not knowing what to expect, and I got an entertaining as hell movie with a lot of heart and all the body count a film like this needs. Tie it together with a sweet ending and you got a pretty good afternoon. Venom Let There Be Carnage is amazing. I don't care what the critics will say, it was hilarious. A romantic comedy mixed with mass murderers, aliens, body switches, and all in a rather short and not compromised hour and a half. I really want to make a full video about this one, but for now, this is one of the best superhero sequels I've seen, and not from the reasons one would think. Injustice is a shit movie and I have a full review on it in which I tell you why, no need to repeat.
Welcome to the life hereafter, sleepless nights
Muppets Haunted Mansion was a really good time. I mean, it's the Muppets. It had to be fun by definition, and that's exactly what it was. Nothing more to add. Eternals was freaking weird. It started out interesting, and then became a stretched out, clumsily edited and poorly written mess, which honestly depressed me with how much I didn't care for it. One of the worst MCU movies ever, and it's sad to say considering I dug the idea and just think it needed more focus and less exposition feeding. Tick Tick Boom is an amazing biopic about Jonathan Larson, which shows he was just as a mess as he was a genius. If you like musicals, then it's a safe bet you're definitely going to like this movie. Andrew Garfield gives one of his best performances ever, the songs are catchy, and Lin-Manuel Miranda's first directorial effort is a success. Can't recommend this one enough.
We don't talk about Bruno, no.
Encanto is what I expected out of Disney. Beautiful animation, brilliant songs, lovable characters, an interesting concept, it's Disney at its best. I think that's all I should say in order to convince you why it's so good. I already made a video gushing over Spider-Man No Way Home, so I'll just say here again that it's easily the best live-action Spider-Man movie. One of the best, if not the best MCU movie, and I can't emphasize how much I recommend it. But if you're watching this video, you most likely saw it already, so you know why I think so highly of it. Invincible is a show I checked out because of J.K. Simmons being in it, and it delivered on that front. Don't get me wrong, the show was a good time for me besides that, and I enjoyed the story and characters with a few exceptions, which sadly includes Invincible himself. I just never thought he was a strong lead, and he got his ass kicked more than he saved the day. For a superhero show, that's a big problem if you ask me. WandaVision was such a unique and interesting idea, which I appreciate considering it was the first MCU product in over a year. I really enjoyed its bizarre concept and the whole mystery surrounding the show, and I think they handle it really well. Elizabeth Olsen rocks this show with every frame she's on screen, and I love the journey her character went through. It's not a perfect show, but I enjoyed it a lot. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is also a good show, but I think it didn't have enough time to fully develop its themes and story. Both of them are great ideas and the show portrays them well, but I feel like the main conflicts ended too quickly and with too much of a stand regarding such controversial ideas. Still like that though, I would recommend. Loki is a show I don't have a lot to say on. Not because it's bad, but because I just feel it does its job really well, and that I had a great time watching it. Loki is great, his interactions with the other characters is great, the concept is fun and they do most if not all they can do with it. It's a great show and that's really all I could say. Monsters at Work was alright. I enjoyed every time Mike and Sully were on screen, which sadly wasn't all the time. The new characters ranged from okay to terrible, and I would have just preferred to have the show focus on the characters I actually watched the show for. Not a bad time though, some parts were really worth it. Disney's Magic Bake Off is a show I watched with a friend to see what kind of cakes kids can bake and be incredibly jealous of them. That's exactly what I got, and it was fun as we watched it. Honestly, thought I'd skip it, but I like giving my friends a shout out when possible. Masters of the Universe Revelation caught me completely by surprise. I never grew up watching He-Man as it was before my time, but this show really got me hooked. I won't say too much since I don't want to spoil anything, but what more can you ask for in a recommendation for a show than it's great, go watch it. I loved it and I'm not even a fan of the OG.
Hey, new friend.
Senator World has a concept and animation which I adore, as long with its overarching story. But besides the main character, most of the side characters come across as annoying and even kind of toxic towards the lead. Not a bad show at all though, even if it's clunky in some places, I'd still say it's worth checking out. Maybe the problems I had with it won't matter to you too much.
LFG, the Ghost and Molly McGee.
The Ghost and Molly McGee is no stranger to my channel, and people who may have seen my other videos are probably aware of how much I like this show. It's sadly not yet finished and there are episodes to go, but what aired thus far is great. Can't wait to see more.
They just wanna ride on a waving it on the rail. Right.
Inside Job is fucking amazing. I don't know how they did it, but a show which I can best describe as a combination of Rick and Morty, Gravity Falls, and Futurama, which is a pretty odd combo as you can guess, pulled it off and then some. This show is both hilarious and smart with its satire, while also dealing with some serious themes like trauma and rejection. It is a show I can't recommend enough for you people to check out if you haven't yet. And I'll even say it's my favorite show from this year, that's how much I love it. Dogs in Space should tell you everything about why it's so much fun from the title alone. It's about dogs, which are a part of a Space Ranger team. And the main dog is freaking Sora from Kingdom Hearts. What's not to love about it? Dragons: The Nine Realms. I may be too harsh on this one, as it's not awful by any means, but when you're taking upon yourselves to make a sequel series to a well-respected film trilogy and setting it up a whole millennium after, you're putting a lot on your shoulders, and as a big fan of said trilogy, it doesn't even compare. This show has the potential to win me over in the future, but as of right now, I wish the dragons would have stayed hidden. Kaze and the Wild Masks came to me out of nowhere as a random trailer on YouTube. I was interested, so I gave it a shot as it came out near my birthday. And what a fun journey that was! Tight controls, challenging but fair levels, beautiful sprites and art style, and the titular Wild Masks are fun to use. Great job to the developers, looking forward to seeing what else you're gonna make. Returnal belongs in a genre I don't usually play, but the positive, if vague word of mouth I heard about it convinced me to get it as my first true PS5 game. Welp, this game is so much fun. It's hard as hell, mind you, and you can bet it kicks my ass every time I boot it up. But I find myself addicted to it, and I'm having fun trying again with each new cycle. Plus, whenever I did make progress, it was most definitely satisfying. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart had a lot of expectations for me to answer to, and boy, did it deliver. Being a longtime fan of this franchise, this is exactly what I wanted from a new entry in a long-running series taking advantage of the next generation of consoles. The gameplay and weapons are as fun and crazy as ever, visuals are out of this world, the story is filled with wonderful characters, both old and new, a lot of the traditional Ratchet humor, and even touches on some heavier themes. If you didn't have a reason to hunt down a PS5 beforehand, make this your primary reason. You will not regret it. Life is Strange 2 Colors is my favorite game in this series. There isn't much I can say about it without going into spoilers, so I'll just summarize that it combines what worked in the previous Life is Strange games into a package which would satisfy fans of both, and that the new power introduced in this game may be my favorite from the ones we saw so far. I feel like the ending is a bit weak, but it doesn't change my opinion that this is the new standard to beat when it comes to this series. Kena Bridge of Spirits caught my eye from the day it was announced, and I'm more than happy to say it is a lot more than just a pretty game. It's fun, creative, has an interesting story without much dialogue, of course it looks freaking gorgeous, and for a studio's first outing, it is a must play. Can't wait to see more happening with this little gem. Guardians of the Galaxy might as well be the biggest surprise I had this year, across all the categories here. I didn't expect much out of this game after the disappointment Square's Avengers game was. Then the game came out and I forgot all about it until my pre-order notice came in. I gave it a shot and holy hell, this was such a good game. I may be more familiar with the Guardians as MCU versions and less so the comics, but you can tell this was made with a lot of love for the source material. The game also shines as a really fun action game which fixed all the problems the Avengers game had. If you're a Marvel fan and especially a Guardians of the Galaxy fan, this is an adventure you don't want to miss. Well, I think this is it. These are my thoughts on all the entertainment which came out this year I have managed to absorb. I know I didn't watch or play stuff like Arcane or It Takes Two, but hey, there's always next year for that. Whatever it is that you watched, played, or read in 2021, I hope you enjoyed it and that 2022 will only bring you more good stuff to enjoy. Is there anything I'm looking forward to in 2022? Well, there's plenty of Sonic stuff on the way which I'm very excited for. Across the Spider-Verse is also a movie I can't wait to see. Lightyear looks like a really interesting film. Future seasons of shows I mentioned here will be welcomed, of course. Curious doesn't begin to describe what I feel regarding the Black Panther sequel. And there are a bunch of other things which I'm sure will surprise me. Whatever it is you're looking forward to, have a wonderful 2022 everyone. May this year be one to remember in the best way possible.